fat trade paperback, flocking to the
I am joined by the amazing Allison O'Toole, Dan Price, Andre Owen, Fred Kennedy,
Chip Zdarsky. Chip, thanks for coming.
What's up, folks? I'm your host, Konrad, on Wednesday Night Reviews, and today we are joined by the amazing Matt McGrath. Matt, thanks for taking the time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Matt, just to jump right into it, for the folks who've maybe never seen your face, never heard your name, who is Matt McGrath?
Matt McGrath is I should have had my bio, so I could just read off that. Now I have to remember who I am. So I'm a comic creator from Toronto. In my day job, I do content marketing stuff, writing. So I'm always writing. But yes, in my free time, I'm writing comics. So I have previously published a bunch of short comics in different anthologies here and there. And I've self-published 2 issues of my indie comic series, ID10T Error, which I've plugged on this show before. So, and yes, now I have a new Kickstarter, which I think we're going to be discussing in some detail.
I would think so, yes. Just to sort of to prep people, as we are in spooky season, and this is right up the alley for your book and the way that you like to write. The first 2 books that we've talked about of yours that I have sitting on my shelf, ID10T Error. Yes. I was going to try and put them in a comic box, but they are oversized and they're beautiful. And I was just like, you know what? Shelf. Yeah. So your first 2 books, ID10T Errors 1 and 2, focus sort of on psychological horror of this machine, this android that is built and more or less tortured by a really disgruntled dude that obviously finds its way out, gets some freedom, and then has to deal with everything. Which I find the book to be quite funny. It's very over the top. The working in it, the art in it is it uses extreme contrast in colors to just cause anxiety. And so now I've come through you from that book to this, which is a whole different beast. So Matt, tell me about Everyday Fears. What is it?
Sure. So yeah, it's kind of in the same, well, not really. It's like ID10T Error. It's horror comedy. So yeah, I guess the genesis for this project was, I'm working on the ID10T Error issue 3, and that'll be the last one. After that, the story is over. So yeah, I had written a rough draft of it, got in a good place, but still not ready to kind of get working on producing that yet. Hopefully next year. So I kind of wanted to have like a little, I don't know, palate cleanser, something out there to let everybody know that, I'm still here creating stuff, even though ID10T Error is a little bit away. So yeah, that's when I started looking to my aforementioned short comics and anthologies. So like I said before, I'd written a bunch of stuff in anthologies over my little fledgling comic career. And I noticed that they were all thematically the same. They were all horror stories that, were funny and kind of had this, I don't know, slice of life feel to them. Like they were like monsters kind of dealing with like minor inconveniences of everyday life, or like just people who kind of live in this paranormal world who are kind of just dealing with things that come up that we all deal with, but they kind of had like a magic, fantastical slant to it. So so I collected 4 of those stories that had been previously published and put them in this book. Plus I had 2 stories that I had pitched previously, and they didn't get accepted, but like I really liked those stories, so I never forgot them. And when I kind of had the idea to do, anthology of my previously published work, I was like, okay, let's write these 2 stories and get them made for this anthology, because again, they thematically fit with slice of life horror. So yeah, that's the genesis of it.
I dig it, and I am going to show the front page for it here. Sure. So anyone tuning in now or in the next 29 days, basically Google Everyday Fears, Slice of Life Horror Comics Anthology, or probably just Everyday Fears will work on Kickstarter,
Yep.
and you'll find this. You already have $800 of $5,500 back, which is fantastic.
Yeah, not too bad, right? First day.
Yeah.
14%, I think. So I'm hoping today we can cross that $1,000 mark.
That would be awesome.
Yes, that would make me happy.
So I have so many questions now. I guess we'll start with something that came up in a previous interview. I was speaking with I forget who it was exactly now. But basically we it was Alison O'Toole. We were talking about the fact that slice of life as a genre does extremely well in manga, but not in comics for whatever reason. The big companies don't want to pick it up, and it just that doesn't get a lot of traction. And yet, Matt, you do it so well. So I guess, can you describe for people what slice of life is as a genre, and then how horror comes into it?
Sure. Slice of life as a genre. I'm trying to think what's a good. Yeah, I think maybe it's just stories that don't have like the big high concept behind them. It's just everyday people dealing with everyday problems. Yeah, maybe like I think my favorite slice of life book in comics is what's it called? Pope Hats, that was turned into a graphic novel by I'm gonna get it. No, I'm not. Pope Hats, Hartley Lynn. Anyways, that's a great slice of life story. If you Google Pope Hats, it'll come up. But yeah, that's just like a woman kind of living her life in Toronto, working at a law firm, and she has her roommate, best friend, who's like a struggling actor, and the name is like on the tip of my tongue. What is it? I can't remember. But yeah, that's like, I think in indie comics and self-published comics, like you don't see slice of life so much with big publishers, but I think it's a great genre, booming in the indie comic scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like such an interesting thing to me, as someone who loves indie comics and does these interviews and things like that, is being the nerd that I am, and coming from shows like Cowboy Bebop, which are arguably slice of life. I like the genre. I like the way it feels, the way it looks, and so for it not to just get adopted for me was always strange. And that's why I think I like indie. And just to check, Matt,
Young Francis is the name.
Oh, so this is not...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's it. So it came out as floppies over years, and then after that, it was collected as a graphic novel. So yeah, Ethan Riley is like that was his pen name, but for Young Francis, he goes by his I think that one's his real name, which is Hartley Lynn. But yes, this is amazing. If I don't know if it's still in print because the publisher went out of business, but if you can track it down, it's there. You go. That image up there. If you go back.
Yeah.
Yep, that first image, Young Francis. There it is. It's so good. Yes, that's one of my favorite slice of life, and the cartooning in it is so freaking amazing. It kind of has that look of like Chester Brown kind of that he used in Louis Riel look to it, and yeah, that's a great book. One of my favorite comics of all time for sure.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is one I'll have to check out.
Yeah.
So I guess that form of genre being what is essentially a very good medium for talking about everyday subjects, stress, anxiety, stuff you're dealing with at work, whatever, relationships, all that kind of very human, because I think that's what slice of life does well. It does very human things. You're injecting it with horror now. So I guess, and I do believe I've asked you this one before, but for the folks watching who've maybe, like I said, never seen your face, what makes you want to inject horror into that kind of stuff, and why do you love horror so much?
That's an interesting question. I've often pondered about this, especially recently, since basically all my comic output has been horror, but I've never really figured myself like a huge horror fan. Yeah, I've never really been like a horror guy per se. Maybe like in recent years, I've definitely kind of jumped on the horror bandwagon, and I've watched all the A24
Ooh.
horror movies that we all know and love, and that yeah. And like yesterday, I just finished The Fall of the House of Usher. Like I'm a big Flanagan head. Love that dude. Everything he puts out. I have one more series to watch, and I've like consumed everything by him. I have to watch The Midnight Club. I missed that, so that's starting tomorrow. That's what I'm gonna be watching. Yeah, but I don't know. Like I guess part of it was like for this anthology particularly, there's just like a lot of horror comics out there, and it's just very prescient in comics right now. All these anthologies that I kind of submitted to were horror themed. So yeah, it just kind of accidentally happened that way. Yeah, it wasn't planned. Like I said, it's just yeah, I kind of had to look back and just notice like that pattern of all these stories I've written. Kind of, yeah, they're horror, but they also have more of like, yeah, down to earth, grounded monsters just dealing with their shit. Trying to get through it.
Yeah, exactly. Then I guess to talk about Everyday Fears specifically, you mentioned it's an anthology that combines sort of older stories that you've written as well as some that maybe weren't accepted elsewhere, and now you're just screw it, I'm getting it done. Let's get it out there because you want to make these comics. What's the sort of the time range on those stories? Like, what's the oldest one? What's the newest one? And I guess, have you as a writer, because obviously you have to get the pages in, you've got to put it together, you see all this stuff. How do you think you have changed over that time period as a writer?
Okay, so yeah, oldest. It's kind of I've arranged. I kind of sandwiched the order of the book with the two newest stories. So
Okay.
the opener is one of the new stories, and the closer is a new story, one of the new stories, and then from there it kind of goes chronologically. So, Practice Safe Hex is the first one, the first comic that I wrote, and
Okay.
yeah, that was published too. So that was published in Strange Romance Volume 3. There it is.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. So that's my baby's first comic. And yeah, it's still like to this day one of my favorite things I've ever written. It's just a 6-pager, illustrated by Brandon Tobin, which to have Brandon illustrate your first comic is such a privilege. Like that's what hooked me on comics. Seeing
Nice.
his art with my words on it kind of blew me away for the first time. And yeah, it's about a couple who are having a steamy date and find out they're fresh out of protection. So our heroine takes it upon herself to but she's taking night classes at the local witch and wizardry college, so she's got
As
to
you do.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she thinks she can hack like a protection spell into a decent kind of prophylactic. So and hilarity ensues from there. And yeah, it's a pretty simple structure, which I kind of noticed all over like the stories in this, which is page 1, set up the joke. Pages 2 to 5, you're kind of a gag each page, and then the last page is kind of the punchline. And yeah, that's the structure that all of these kind of take. And
Oh, interesting.
yeah, how I've improved as a writer, I don't know. Like I've written longer stuff, but going back, like I think these are my favorite things I've ever written. My tightest scripts I've done to date. So yeah, I'm really proud of this book. I think it's gonna be a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's the funny thing is for me, because I come to your work through ID10T error, where like I said, the colors are just like hyper contrasting. And they both have a very distinctive art style, which I love. To then yeah, like see this comic, your Practice Safe Hex, or then the art shift for what John Berg has done here for Neighbors, going into Roommates, which has Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is probably one of my favorite fictional stories.
Cool.
I love that story. So for you to get to play with that, highly exciting.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's interesting seeing the various different art styles. So I appreciate some of these were previously made and published, and now you're bringing them all together. Do you find? I guess the question I want to ask is, when it comes to your artist selection, because you've had quite a varying amount of them, what do you hone in on? What do you enjoy, and what makes it for you right for your art to say yes to an artist?
Good question. It's usually the other way around. The artist is saying yes to me. Like I find their stuff on Twitter or online, or like with a lot of these stories, I got paired with them. Like speaking.
Oh,
yeah. So for the anthologies, I think three I was paired with. So John Berg I was paired with, Brendan Tobin, and Shen Travis. And yeah, again, like that was amazing. Especially like in my very nascent writing career, to be paired with such amazing artists was such a good confidence boost, because your words are on these beautiful pages, and I don't know, even if the writing stinks, at least it looks really good. I lost the thread of your question.
Yeah, sort of like, well, as mentioned, the question was sort of,
yeah, why do I want to work with these artists?
What about them fits?
Again, like it's usually me going to them and them saying yes. So with the page right here, Darren bought, like I'd seen Darren's work online on Twitter, like I'd been following him for a while, and Darren actually did the book design for ID10T Air. So that's kind of how I first started working with him. And Darren also did the logo for this anthology. So yeah, so he's a graphic designer and does a lot of professional work in there, but he also draws comics, as you can see. And just like seeing his work online, I just really connected with it. And for the story in particular, like when I wrote it, I very clearly like had his art in mind as I was writing it. And yeah, I guess like that kind of influenced the jokes as well. Like the jokes, the pacing, the structure, how I kind of wanted to lay out the page. So like for the story in particular, we kind of have very kind of block panels, like that six panel grid, just to kind of get that idea of like the thing is being filmed. It's like all the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, point of view, found footage. That's what I wanted. It's very
like Blair Witch and stuff.
Yes, exactly. So yeah. Plus, also Darren wrote this amazing comic. It was like a essay about his experience watching this Chef Boyardee commercial, like when he was a kid.
Okay.
It's so funny. Like I guess he watched this commercial when he was a kid, and it was so bizarre, and he had so many questions. He wrote a comic about it, and yeah, the humor that he uses in that book really influenced like the kind of humor in this comic that I'm doing with him. So I think it's just like finding people online on Twitter and just becoming fans of their work and reaching out and seeing if they'd like to work with me. And sometimes I'm lucky enough they'll say yes.
I dig it. Well, I'm glad that they do, because you make some of the most unique and at times horrifying, at other times very funny comics that kind of point out that point out everyday stuff. And to me, it was interesting. Earlier, you mentioned sort of your page setup being, page 1 sets up the joke. Page 2 is the punchline. Page 3 is a resolution or some variant thereof. Which is, to me, very classic comedy. When I think of, you know, any sort of good comic, they're generally speaking, that's what they're doing on stage, right? They're introduce a premise, give you a punchline, and go to resolution so you can have a laugh.
Mhm.
Do you find that when you're writing, Matt, a lot of the time, because again, the stuff you write's funny, do you find that horror and comedy mix well together?
Um, yeah, yes. I saw somebody had a really good explanation for why they work so well together, and I forgot what it was, but yeah, I think just like look at some examples out there, like Evil Dead
Yeah.
2, like some of the greatest horror movies of all time are also comedies. Shaun of the Dead, like another. Um, yes, exactly. I don't know. I guess like horror and comedy gets such visceral reactions from people, like physical and mental reactions, where if you're really scared in the movie, you might scream, your heart palpitates, you get goosebumps, you get all cold and clammy over. And it's the same with comedy, like not that, but like you know, laughing out loud. So they're both, yeah. Maybe there's something in that, like
Interesting.
yeah, they're both very illicit, yeah, physical reactions from the viewer. So I can't come up with like a very eloquent reason why that's why they go so well together, but I think there's something there.
Yeah, like it's something about, well, like being tickled, right?
Hmm.
It just elicits this physical reaction. You start laughing and you're done. Just like a lot of the horror stuff, when you see that a jump scare, it's just a reaction. It's not, I have to think about, haha, this is a funny thing, or this is it just happens. So yeah, maybe that, I think you're right. Maybe there's something to that.
Yeah,
Just
like I guess like
boom.
they both like kind of set up expectations and then kind of either defy them or go, like deliver on them. So I don't know, like a jump scare, like in a horror movie, like when you're expect something to kind of pop up and scare you around the corner, and then early on the movie they all have that where you think a jump scare is about to come, but then like it's a fake out, like, oh, it's just, I don't know, the main character's little
Yeah.
brother hiding behind a corner. It's nothing scary. It's like, kind of the same. Like jokes do that too, where it kind of sets up an expectation and either delivers on it or it kind of subverts it, which
Mhm.
gets a laugh out of somebody. So again, I'm just like scratching the surface here. I'm not coming up with any good explanations why, but yeah, they're all connected.
Yeah, no, I dig it, and you know what? Um, I do want to make sure we touch on. So for the folks tuning in who are interested, who want to enjoy your unique brand of horror comedy slice of life, um, I'd love to go through the tiers with you. So I'm going to bring
Sure.
up the campaign. Boop, there we go. Um, so if you want to, we can walk through the whole thing. I'm also usually, I recommend at least what's sort of the basic buy-in, and then if you have some sort of crazy high-end tier that you want to talk about, let's go for it.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, start with simple. So if someone just wants to check out Everyday Fears, see what you're all about, what's the sort of minimum they can get to get a copy?
Sure. So our minimum is our digital edition, which for another 24 hours, you can get the early bird digital edition, which is just $7 Canadian. So Canadian, barely even money. That's like what, 25 cents American or something? It's nothing.
Something
But
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So exchange rates all over the place. But yeah. So and then after tomorrow, you can grab the digital edition for $9. So not too much more expensive. And I'm also offering a digital deluxe. So that
Ooh.
has one extra story in it called Trippegeist, which is another early story by me. It's 12 pages. Horror story about a town that is haunted by a monster that hunts people on stairs. So yeah, it's kind of a not
Oh, great.
yeah, not as much as a comedy, so that's why I didn't include it in this the the main books. But yeah, if you kind of want to read that story, plus they'll have some back matter material in that as well, about 8 pages. So 60 pages total for $12. I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we got our print edition. So again, for the next 24 hours, you can back the early bird print edition for $15 Canadian. And then after tomorrow, the print edition will be $20 Canadian. Yeah, and we've been talking about ID10T Air a lot. So if you missed out on those last 2 campaigns, you can grab the digital comic bundle, get it all for just $22. So that's 122 pages, I think, between everything, issues 1, 2, and Everyday Fears. So pretty good. And then going along those lines, you can also get the print comic bundle. So that'll be Everyday Fears plus 2 physical copies of ID10T Air. And then we have another bundle, which is all my stuff in print form. So Everyday Fears, ID10T Air issues 1 and 2. And then I did a anthology, a short story in an anthology a couple of years back called Gothic Tales of Haunted Futures with V. Gagnon, which is they are also one of the illustrators in Everyday Fears.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then the kind of like blowout big thing is a writing package. So I will write your Kickstarter page, press release, marketing emails, some social media posts. So yeah, my day job is doing content marketing, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So yeah, that's kind of my long shot one. Big blowout.
That's big value.
Yeah.
Matt, wow. So not only for 200 Canadian, which I think is like 160 US, someone can. I'm assuming it also comes with the print and digital deluxe copy of Everyday Fears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you'll help them by writing a Kickstarter page for them and do their marketing for them practically, or at least write the posts for them to then
get you started on your marketing. Yeah.
Damn. So anyone out there who's doing a Kickstarter in the next month to month and a half?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I guess month. You got 1 month to grab this, so act on it fast. And I think just three of those, because I'm not sure,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta
gotta eat,
limit how much
sleep.
Overwork you make yourself do.
Totally.
Wow.
That's what we got.
Is Everyday Fears the print copy? Is it going to be ID10T Air where it's the deluxe size or the oversized, or is it?
No, so this one will be the American standard comic size. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I dig it. That's super cool. So for the folks out there, that'll be the one that you're going to want to go after. Just do it. These books are gorgeous. You can actually see there what I mean by that extreme contrast of color. Matt, that's fantastic. I was just on another interview a couple days back, and one thing I commented about, I think it's the third interview in a row now that I've been able to comment on this, is what I think is so cool about the indie comics community is how much you guys help each other. So you're offering for the 200 Canadian to do marketing and help write someone's page. That's huge help. The previous person was offering to do edits. So you would send them your script and they would actually edit the comic for you. And the person prior to that, they were offering another service regarding basically consulting on how to do this. That's just the coolest thing. So Matt, thank you for being a part of that.
No worries. I mean, I'm asking for money for it, but
you are, but
I think it's a pretty good price for that amount of work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only are you offering your service discounted, but it's also a lot of people might not know even how to approach somebody about doing those services. They might not know how to find them, and you're just like, hey, this is what I do for a living. Let me do it for you for a heavily discounted rate.
Totally.
That's wicked.
Yeah. I mean, it's also tough for writers to kind of offer those kind of big tier rewards. Like for artists, they offer commissions, and and things like that, which I have no artistic ability whatsoever. So yeah, if I can write, like I'm good at writing, so if I can do that for somebody, then yeah, happy to offer it.
I love it. Now, you've already got 49 backers. I'm actually going to refresh the page just in case. Perfect. So 49. Well, not perfect. We want to see 50.
I want to see 50 today.
So
yeah.
If you're watching, go out, Google Everyday Fears Kickstarter, find the page. Again, this exact page. You'll know it because the woman's got a mouth on the back of her head.
Yeah, it's hard to miss.
Yeah, and you're going to click this button, and you're going to get some comics. That being said, what I do want to ask is,
hey, there we go.
Speak
got one
of
more.
The devil. What I did want to ask was, given the amount of backers you've got already within a day, we're now at 50. Awesome. How much of that is sort of repeat customers? Because I've learned from doing this that you actually get to see who backs you, where they're from, sort of the country. So I'm curious, how much of your backing so far has been repeat backers, and has anyone backed you from somewhere that you weren't expecting?
Yes. So yeah, Kickstarter, like for people that don't know, they've since the last time I've done this, which was about 2 years ago, I guess they have a new data analytics tool that's, I think it's still in its beta form, but it gives you like a lot of different data about all your backers. So yeah, one of the stats that they give you is how many returning backers you have. And for this, I think I have 26 so far. So about like half of the people are returning, which is, yeah, it's pretty cool. There are new people, which is kind of surprised. Like it tells you how many people kind of like are frequent backers, and then there's another tier like, casual backers, like they back a book maybe every month, and then people who are new. So yeah, there's been like a couple of new people like that don't really back very often, which is kind of surprised me. And it always surprises me when people kind of discover your book just like on the Kickstarter kind of homepage, or like what's new and things like that, and they click on it and come to you from there. So a couple of surprises for sure. But yeah, it's really cool to see people coming back. Like 50% people coming back is pretty neat. Yeah,
you're retaining them like quite a good base of fans. That's awesome. But also awesome that the other 50% are totally new people to you.
Yeah,
Thank you for growing.
Yeah.
Damn, that's so cool. Congratulations, Matt. That's awesome.
Thanks. I'm just like kind of like playing around with this tool, like checking it every hour or so. Just like some of the stats like just mean nothing to me, but just there's graphs and lines and numbers and colors, and I was like, ooh, interesting.
I mean,
cool.
I love a good graph.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Oh God, yeah. That is so cool. Then I guess one other question I have is, now that you've done 2 of your own straight comics, you've done 2 anthologies, what do you find sort of different about them? What do you like about them? Like, what would you say are the pros of doing it on your own, just your own book? And then what are the pros of working within an anthology?
On my own book, I guess like the pros of an anthology is like the ones that I've done so far are super hands off. Like I write the script and then I give it to the editor, and that's pretty much all I have to do. So that's nice. Yeah, I can just like focus 100% on writing the story and making it as good as it can be, and I have an editor there that will help me get it to a spot, and then they kind of take the script and give it to the artist, and then I don't really see it too much until it's done, and then I come back and like 2 months later, like I get an email with the comic that has my words on it that looks amazing. So yeah, that's probably the pros of that. Like it's just completely focused on the story, and for doing it on your own, like for this, like writing is like 20% of the job. The other is just project managing, marketing, really hustling, get people to back the book. And then once it's done, it's, you got to send it to the printer. So design aspect of the book, you're mailing it out on your own, unless you have like a fulfiller. But for me, I just mailed it out on my own. And yeah, it's everything. It's the whole shebang, the whole process, just doing it yourself. So it's a lot of work, but yeah, it's fun. Like, I actually like shipping out stuff. I like that kind of monotonous activity of bagging and boarding and putting it into a mailer and then labeling it and doing all that stuff. Yeah.
When you're doing that, because I like for me, it's I do the dishes a lot.
Mhm.
So I like to just I'll put on my show or whatever I'm watching. Not my show, but a show I'm watching. And just do the dishes sort of mechanically while I take in whatever it is I'm enjoying. Do you find that's what you do when you're basically assembling the packages to go out? Like, you're just tuned into a TV show, podcast, whatever?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I kind of, I watched some I was about to say Starflex, Star Trek: The Next Generation. I
Oh,
watched a bunch of
nice.
that, caught up on that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for ID10T Air, the one that I had to do, it was a little different. Like, I kind of packaged up a whole bunch of them. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then I went to go weigh them and like do the pricing, and found that they were just like 2 grams too heavy. That made them like
Oh,
exponentially more expensive to ship out. So I had to like go back and like rip them all open and then take out the packaging, then repackage it to make them
oh,
less expensive. So I
over
kind of
two
ruined it a little
grams.
bit. Yeah, that was a learning experience for sure. Um,
I assume you
yeah.
bought a scale.
What's that?
I assume for this round you've bought a scale.
Yes, yes. See, I had a scale, but I didn't weigh it before I priced out there. I like put in the information to get the price. So yeah. This time I've pre calculated all the weights and what materials I need to know like what the shipping will cost approximately. So shipping is
Fun.
fun. Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best. And that everything goes perfect the first time on the print, and then it all comes back exactly the way you want, and all
Mhm.
the good things, so you can just assemble and send, and people can enjoy their books. Uh, Now, regarding sending people their books and everything, given that, I mean, we've seen a bunch of the pages already, some of it's previous work that you've done. Um, I feel like I know the answer, but I want to make sure anyway. How much of the book is completed, like from the art perspective?
I'd say about like 80%. So,
Nice.
4 stories out of 6 are totally done, which is pretty cool. And then for the 2 new stories, they each have 1 page each that are complete. So, once the Kickstarter is done and we're all funded and we have a little party,
Got that?
um,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be 12 pages that need to still be produced. So not too
Oh,
bad.
that's not bad. Not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
And what is your sort of expected or target delivery date?
For the digital version, I'm hoping for a March delivery, and
Nice.
then for the print version, May. So about a month to
So,
get printed.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you will then be sending the digital first, so people can actually read it right away at March, or as soon as it's ready.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, for May, the big nerds like myself who like all these things can have
Yeah,
our physical copy.
totally. And I'm one of those nerds too.
Yeah.
I like the thing in my hand. Yeah. So May. Yeah, I kind of made a lot of buffer. So each artist will need to do 6 pages, and I gave them roughly like 2 months. So I feel like that's a lot of nice buffer time, and then kind
Oh
of have
yeah.
a month in there to get out the digital version, and yeah. So I'm pretty confident about the timelines.
I dig it. No, I I highly suspect, with everything I've seen from you, regarding your last campaigns that I know about and have been a part of, yeah, I have no doubt people will get exactly what they're after and they'll enjoy greatly. Um,
Yeah,
I
maybe
guess,
ID10 tier was like a little bit late, but I let people know. We kind of expect this. It's Kickstarter. We all expect this when we're going in. But
oh
to assuage any fears, I was very upfront about any delays, and I, sent out a monthly message letting people know where we're at with the book, reassuring people. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty good with that. I let people know if we're running late, and if we're on time, then I look like I know what I'm doing and trick people into thinking that.
yeah. On that end, Matt, this is your third one, and if, again, knock on wood, if all goes well and you get backed, which I don't doubt, that'll be 3 for 3, and that kind of means you do know what you're doing. And isn't that the scariest thing of all?
Yeah. No, that's my everyday fear right there.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
So, Matt, one thing I like to make sure I ask at some point during my interviews is, for the folks at home, uh, who want to follow you, who want to be your fan, who just don't know where to follow you, where's the best place? Where are you most active online? Where can they go to find you?
Sure. So I'm the most active, unfortunately, still on Twitter or X. I don't know what it's called
Twitter.
anymore.
It's Twitter.
Twitter. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you can find me there at Stupid Matt. So that's stupid spelled with 2 O's instead of a U _ Matt. So that's where I'm usually at. I'm also on Blue Sky. Trying to post there more often. Yeah, there I am. There I am. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, the same username, or I'm also on Instagram too. So those are the venues you'll find me.
And on Instagram, it's not stupid, but it's Matt is dumb, right? Matt
Uh,
is, or
Actually, I think that's a good question. I have two. One is like for my personal stuff where I just post baby pictures. That's private, and the other one is for comic stuff. I think Stupid Matt is all my comic stuff. So yeah, better find me there.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you kindly. I don't think I've ever asked you this before. I feel like you would have one. Do you have a newsletter?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I just started it not too long ago. So it's called This and Matt.
Yeah, go. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep talking.
I don't know how I would direct people to that. Maybe I'll post
Find
something on social recently, but yeah, it's on Tiny Letter, like the MailChimp kind of newsletter service that they have. So yeah, maybe if you just type in like Matt McGrath Tiny Letter, it'll probably direct you there on Google. You can check. Yeah.
We're doing this very live.
Yeah.
Matthew McGrath, tattoo artist. That is not you.
No, that's not me. What's interesting to know, there's another Matt McGrath out there who's a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just find me on Twitter. I'm there. Even though it's awful, but what are we gonna do? I have to be there.
Yes, it's the way to connect with this community of people.
Yeah.
It is the way. So Matt, we're nearing sort of the end of the interview. We've got about 15-ish minutes left. We've covered most things about the campaign I can think of that are critical. But is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure people know about, or that you just are proud of?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll just kind of go over all the artists that are doing the books. Oh yeah, if you visual guide would be very helpful.
Yeah, oh absolutely.
Okay. So yep. So our cover here, as I mentioned before, is by the amazing Kay Wooliser. So she she did the colors for ID10T Air, and she's also illustrator herself. So she did the cover for this, and yeah, as you can see, like the colors are amazing, vibrant, just like in ID10T Air. So everybody really likes the person with the jaws in the back of their head. So yeah, that was all Kay's idea. So she did the cover, and like I said, mentioned before, Darren did our logo. And if we scroll down, we got, yeah, this is V Gagnon, who I mentioned. I worked with them on the Gothic Tales of Haunted Futures. So they're doing Daddy Damnedest, which is a kind of nerdy kid summons a demon in their bedroom, and the question that they are posing to the demon is, do they just like want to hang out for a little bit? So after that, hilarity ensues from there, and it's kind of like, again, everyday kind of drama of this demon and this kid who are kind of having like a heart-to-heart talk.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's our opener with V. Moving on, we kind of talked about this before. Practice Safe Hex, which was my first comic I ever wrote with Brandon Tobin, and yeah, that's the sexy magic book. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. I think next is Neighbors with John Berg. So this was for an anthology called Into Being, which was a celebration of Frankenstein for Mary Shelley's, I think it was either her 200th birthday or the 200th anniversary of the novel. I think it was 200th anniversary of the novel. But Neighbors is a comic about the creation of Frankenstein's monster from the perspective of Frankenstein's downstairs neighbor. So hilarity ensues from there. And then next is the Hyde story that we were kind of talking about before. So it's a kind of odd couple story between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where Mr. Hyde is the kind of the neat freak and the uptight one who's always wanting order, and Jekyll's the kind of slob. So that was for an anthology called Caged in Flesh. Yeah, so that was Red Style Media a few years ago. And then I think the next one after that is Storage Crusade. So I did this one with Ottavio Collino, who is my collaborator with ID10T Air. So we did this as like a contest. I think it's called like the 10K contest, where you have to create a comic in a week. So that's what we did for that. And yeah, it's about a dude who's buying storage units. It's kind of like a parody on Storage Wars, and he discovers this cursed object, and has to get rid of it before his mortal soul is damned forever. So yeah, there's that. And I think our last one we kind of talked about a little bit with Darren. Yeah. So this is The Lanky Man. This is another one that I pitched a while ago, didn't get accepted, but I really loved it, so I wanted to do it. So if you know Marble Hornets, it was kind of a YouTube series that came out maybe like a decade ago. It's kind of a riff on that. So these two students in high school are making their amateur movie, and they notice like this weird creature is stalking them, and they see it in the all the frames of their image. And Mike, who's the person behind the camera who we don't see here, is kind of really paranoid about it and wants to get down to the mystery, and Alex is being like, no, it's nothing, whatever, man. So yeah, we kind of like explore the mystery of who this mysterious entity is that's following them. And yeah, like I mentioned, Darren did the work for that, and yeah, that's the book. And
I love it.
I'm really proud of it. I think it's really good. Please back it.
Absolutely, people should definitely go out, back it. We've already got one backer additional
50
since we started. Yeah, we're at 50 now.
There we go.
Again, 29 days to go, which is fantastic. You've already got 50 backers. Really good pace you're setting here. Then I guess, you know what, Matt? We will do some nice portraits. We've got
yes. Yeah, that's our creative team.
This is in my mind, this is just a legendary picture, by the way. I hope you know I love this picture. I don't know why.
Really?
I really do.
My friend took it after Thanksgiving, like several years ago. I was like, I need a photo. Come, take one with me.
Easy.
Yeah.
I love it. Then we've got what's their first name?
V?
Yeah,
No.
or do they just go by V?
Yeah.
V Gagnon.
Yeah.
We've got
Yeah,
Brandon.
sorry.
We don't have a picture for
Yeah,
Brandon.
no, sorry. He didn't send one to me, but he still gets credit there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
John Berg, I love it.
Mhm.
The sketch image.
Yep.
Shen
Yeah.
Travis.
If you know anything about John, like he's got a webcomic coming out now called Scab. So yeah. You can check the link there. It goes to his website and check out his comic. It's really good.
Oh. Is it gonna there we go. Just real quick, just to shout out the creative team.
Yeah, portfolio or shop, like it's probably in there. Scab, yeah, there's Scab. Yeah, it's his fantasy comic he's self-publishing and black and white. It's really awesome.
Dig it.
Mm-hmm.
One Shen Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Florida. Oh, cool. Is it MFA in traditional animation? Wow. Otavio.
Yep. One and only.
The one and only, yeah.
Yeah.
Darren Vaught.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and Corey Ranson, he colored Storage Crusades. So yeah.
Thank you for giving them. Yeah. Thank you for giving such a good shout out. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, Kay did our cover and knocked it out of the park. Lyndon, maybe people are familiar with. He's also he's a quite accomplished comic writer and a letterer as well. So Lyndon did the letters for Storage Crusade, and he also did the letters for Tripgeist, which is the extra story and the digital deluxe version.
Beautiful.
Frank Sekovic, he did the letters for ID10T Error and also doing the letters for Daddy Damnedest. So love working with Frank.
Yes. Such a good letterer. Hold on to Frank, please. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you put such a thorough shout out on the page because everyone makes this thing happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Thank you for that. So Matt, we've got like 8 minutes. I guess I'll shoot my last two questions your way, and then we'll have you off to go do lectures and do all the things you do in your daily life. So
right.
Somewhere. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I guess we'll start with given the interesting way that you write. I guess I'll start by asking, what is it currently that between doing podcasts and marketing and making comics and shipping comics and all these other crazy things, what is it that you're currently reading and enjoying?
Yeah, I don't have as much time for that. Actually, on the subway ride here, I was reading some Chip Zdarsky Batman. So,
oh, right on.
Yeah, and you interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, which was awesome. I watched the interview. I wish I could have made it, but I wasn't able to. But yeah, that was great, and yeah, loving his Batman run. Basically anything that has Chip Zdarsky on the cover, I read. So, yeah, and then on the way home, I think I'll read some Spider-Man, some Zobel Spider-Man. Really digging that series so far. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I don't get to do nearly as much reading as I'd like to. I'm reading Bone too, like with my son at night. We read like
that's nice.
Yeah, we read like 6 pages before bed. That's kind of like our bedtime tradition. So I'd never read Bone before, so I'm just kind of reading it for the first time with him. So I think we just started book 8 this week.
Oh,
so yeah,
so
we're almost
cruising through.
Yeah, we're almost through it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Making sure we bring up the next generation of nerds. Well, I dig it.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not really into like superhero comics, but put my foot in the door with Bone. Like I got him hooked on Bone. So that's something. It's progress.
Absolutely. I mean, you know what? That's one thing where when people ask me about what I read, when they learn that I have not yet read it, they're like, dude, you got to get on that. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for starting your son on it. I have to go do that now.
Yeah.
Then I guess, Matt, my last question for you is simply, given that comic book nerds like ourselves are often collectors of comics, paraphernalia, memorabilia, figures, toys, and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say currently is the thing in your collection that, well, maybe not the most valuable, maybe not the most rare, but the thing that makes you the most happy?
Yeah, this kind of brings some tears to my eyes a little bit because for ID10T Air and for this project specifically, I had to sell a bunch of my prized
Oh,
possessions. Yeah. Yeah. Surprisingly, like during ID10T Air, like I got a pretty good sum of money for some stuff that I didn't realize was worth a lot. And I think like I
oh,
sold it kind of like during the pandemic, which I don't know, people are just paying like just throwing money at comics
it's that
at
syrup
that
benefit.
time. Right now, not so much, but yeah, I mean, like I sold my Scott Snyder Jock run on Detective Comics to fund
Okay.
this. That was one of my prized possessions, which is now gone, but maybe one day I'll get it back. I don't know. I think like what makes me most happy is my run that I have on Peter Parker Spider-Man.
Oh,
'Cause that's like the first kind of thing that got me into collecting comics. So yeah, that Paul Jenkins run with Humberto Ramos. Yeah, that he did. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't gone back and read it since I was like 13, so I don't know if I don't know if it's good. I thought it was good when I read it, but even if it's not good, like it's got like so much sentimental value for me because it
it,
was like my first stuff, and yeah, prized possession. So yeah, that's one thing that I'll never part with, and it's easy not to part with because I don't think they're worth anything. So there's no point selling it.
no,
Yeah.
see, and that's the kind of thing that I like. Like, that's why I say maybe not the most valuable, maybe not the most rare, but the thing that makes you happy. Because I find, especially if you start young as a comics reader, you get attached to things and things become sentimental, and they might be a dollar bin book, but it's like, oh my god, I love this book, it's the best thing ever. um,
Yeah.
so thank you for sharing that, Matt, and I'm sorry that you've had to shed a few things, but you'll get them back eventually.
One day, yeah. I sold every Spawn comic that I own, um, which hurt because again,
Yeah.
like a lot of sentiment. That even goes back further than those Peter Parker Spider-Mans. Like I collected those when I was just a little kid, and I never read them, but I just looked it open and looked at the Greg Capullo art and was amazed by it. Well, there was one page that I remember scarred me for life when I stopped reading comics for about 5 years because it terrified me so
Oh
much.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an image like a last page spread that had like Spawn like chained up to a wall and there were bullet holes into him and he was decapitated, and yeah, that messed me up for a while. And
I mean, yeah, fair.
yeah.
Reason it was a mature reader's book.
Yep. Sorry, mom.
Oops.
Oops.
Well, Matt, absolutely. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and chat with me today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always love these chats. Happy to
Good.
do
Glad to
them.
hear it.
Yeah.
And for the folks at home, absolutely. One, the first link in the description will take you right to the campaign. Go now, back it. Get yourself, frankly, if you don't have it, ID10T Errors 1 and 2, and Everyday Fears. And get the anthology while you're at it. It's actually sitting on my shelf too. And yeah, enjoy these books. But also, for my sake, comment down below what you think of Matt, his previous work, what you're expecting about this one, and subscribe for more. And yeah, we will see you all next time.
Golden age to present, digest to oversize. Never miss new comic day. Yeah, no surprise. So where's my no prize? Check the letter columns. Can't find issue 2.